like to call to order the meeting of the Planning Board of February 16th, 2023. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the Town of Burlington will be holding the February 16th, 2023 meeting of the Planning Board as a hybrid meeting due to the current state of emergency due to the COVID-19 virus. As such, the Governor issued an executive order on March 12, 2020, authorizing remote meetings under General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, and extended by Chapter 22 of the Acts of 2022, including permitting remote meetings and participation until March 31st, 2023.
Barbara, can you keep reading? I need to
Sure.
fix the...
As always, members of the public are welcome to attend this in-person meeting. Please note that while an option for a remote attendance and/or participation is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast, unless otherwise required by law. Members of the public with particular interest in any specific item on this agenda should make plans for in-person versus virtual attendance accordingly. Those seeking to participate remotely may do so via the following. WebEx, meeting number 23384394884, meeting password 1649. Or you can join by phone at 1-617-315-0704. The meeting is also being broadcast on the BCAT government channel, which can be found on Comcast 99, RCN 15, or Verizon 41, and streamed on Facebook Live via the BCAT Facebook page. Before we begin, I would like to remind everyone of a new set of rules governing public participation at this and all subsequent meetings approved at the meeting of February 2nd, 2023. They are as follows. The Planning Board welcomes public participation at its meetings under the following conditions. 1. Public participation on matters that are on our agenda are allowed at the time of the board's discussion on that matter. The chair will call for comments from the public at the appropriate time. Commenters must wait to be recognized by the chair. Each participant will be allotted 2 minutes to speak and must restrict comments to the agenda item being discussed. 2. There will be a time at the beginning of each meeting that is set aside for public comment on matters not on the current agenda. The chair will call for comments from the public at the appropriate time. Commenters must wait to be recognized by the chair. Each participant will be allotted 2 minutes to speak and must restrict comments to matters which are under the jurisdiction of the board. Planning Board jurisdiction includes the following: long-range planning efforts, parcel rezoning applications, special permit applications, insignificant change applications, zoning bylaw changes, site plan applications, minor engineering change applications, preliminary and definitive subdivision applications. 3. Public participation must be conducted in a respectful, professional manner. Threats, incitement to imminent lawless conduct, obscenities, personal attacks, defamatory statements, and sexually explicit statements will not be tolerated. Thank you. Now is the time for public participation. Each participant will be allotted 2 minutes and must identify themselves prior to speaking. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on an item that is not on our current agenda? Yes, sir. Please come forward and identify yourself for the record.
Hello, Burlington Town citizens and Planning Board and everybody sitting on this table. My name is Sunil Prajapati. I am here because I have some grievances with the Planning Board which are not resolved. And before I go into those details, I have a question. I was here about 6 weeks back, and I filed a complaint about those issues I have experience in working with the Planning Board. And are you planning to? Do you have any question about the complaint I brought, or do you plan to do anything about that complaint?
Staff, was there a formal complaint filed?
I don't believe I believe formal complaint would have to go through HR and or the select board.
Yes. So
Town manager.
coming to our meeting and expressing your disappointment or concern or whatever it may be is not technically filing a formal complaint.
Okay.
I'm not exactly sure how one would go about that.
Okay.
I would suggest you should perhaps call the administrative office and ask if you want to make something more formal.
Okay, I will stop by and ask, check with Liz tomorrow, and then,
I don't think Liz actually would be the person to ask. I think you should probably call either the administrative office or the human resources office.
I did, and they said it's a planning board, which is a different elected body, so I need to work with you directly, with the board or the planning board office, yeah.
Let me look into this myself tomorrow, and someone will get back to you.
I would appreciate that. So let me go into little more detail. I have 2 minutes here. My goal here is to make this planning board better. The experience I have is really bad. On June 16, it was very inappropriate what was spoken to me. I was treated like a criminal, and I was mocked by William and other people too, and that was inappropriate. After that, I tried to run for the planning board as a member, and I was told that planning board is a very serious business. What we do here has an impact on people's life. And my life has been impacted, but not in a good way, in a very bad way, after what happened on June 16. And I don't want it to just say, okay, yeah, it happened and we move on. I'm pretty sure that you all want the planning board to be better year after year. The planning board that you have this year is better than the year before. The next year will be better than this year. It is better in terms of how it provides the service to the town and how it does business with the sincerity. And so when I tried to join, I was told that this is a very serious business, very sincere business, and I did not see that happening by the board members. Right? It's not just about like approving or disapproving permits. That's just one of the things you do here. That's like a small thing, one of the smallest thing you do. And it didn't feel like supporting people. Instead, it was like quite the opposite. Quite.
Mr.
instead of like-
Prajapati, your 2 minutes are up, so if you could wrap it up, that would be great.
I will try to, sure. So the thing is, there are many inappropriate things with this planning board that needs to get better. And that is where I want to put some efforts on working towards those things. So that is why I'm here. And I would appreciate, I'm just begging you, requesting you to not do those kind of things. You know, it's not that this board is a not place where, just like you said, right? It's not a place where you just come and say anything that pops out in your head. It's a very serious business. It impacts people's life. My life has been impacted. I will come and check with you tomorrow for filing the formal complaint, and we'll take it from there. And hopefully that will bring some improvement in how the board functions.
Thank you. I will look into that for you. I probably will not have an answer for you tomorrow because town offices close early tomorrow, and they are closed on Monday. So please give us till early next week.
Not a problem.
Thank
And
you.
I will be here again 2 weeks from now. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to announcements. Oh, wait, is there anyone else online or in the room that would like to speak on an item not on our agenda? Seeing no one, we will move on to announcements.
Sure. So as you just said, Barbara, the town offices will be closed for President's Day on the next Monday. There's a housing partnership meeting on the 21st at 5:00 p.m. And there will be a land use committee meeting on February 27th at 7 o'clock in the Town Hall Annex Basement Meeting Room. I will be there discussing MBTA communities and impacts on the town for all of you that are interested and would like to come. I'm going to be kind of starting my press tour of MBTA communities and getting the word out there about what that is and what it means for us. So that's my first stop, and we'll be going from there.
What date again?
The 27th, so the Monday, the 27th at 7 o'clock, basement.
Thank you.
Thank you. A couple of more things. I would like, on behalf of the board, I'd like to extend our very deepest condolences to the family of Jane Raymond, wife of Paul Raymond, who served on this board and other committees in town for well over 30 years. Jane was a wonderful member of our community, very active in the Congregational Church, and she will be greatly missed. In addition, we have happy news to share. One of our board members, Jessica Sutherland, was delivered of a beautiful new baby girl this past week, so we would like to congratulate Jess and her family. Okay,
Madam Chair,
yes.
I want to second those about Jane Raymond. It was a tremendous loss, and I'm very sad, and condolences go out. And I would also like to extend condolences for Richard Hovass, Dick Hovass, who was a 40-year member of our police department and a phenomenal member of the community, and, you know, did a great job while he was on there, and reached out and touched a lot of people within the town of Burlington as well, so condolences to the family.
Thank you, Joe. I was not aware of that, so thank you. Okay, we do not have any legal notices or non-approvals, so we'll be moving on to matters of appointment. May I have a motion, please?
Madam Chair, motion to take 7A through 7D together for discussion purposes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, 5-0. Item 7A is a public hearing, application for approval of a special permit pursuant to 4.2.7.1, light manufacturing or processing plants, prototype manufacturing of the zoning bylaws. 6 to 8 Adams Street, 21st Century Concrete, Inc. is the applicant. Item 7B is a public hearing, application for approval of a special permit pursuant to 4.2.7.9, hazardous and toxic materials or chemicals, use, storage, transport, disposal, or discharge of the zoning bylaws. 6 through 8 Adams Street, 21st Century Concrete is the applicant. Item 7C is a public hearing, application for approval of a special permit pursuant to 6.1.1, non-conforming uses of the zoning bylaws. 6 to 8 Adams Street, 21st Century Concrete is the applicant. And lastly, item D is a public hearing, application for approval of a special permit pursuant to section 6.1.2, non-conforming structures and premises of the zoning bylaws. 6 to 8 Adams Street, 21st Century Concrete is the applicant. Welcome.
Good evening, Madam Chairman. Thomas Murphy here for the applicant. With me is Minot Wood, who's the engineer for the applicant. Maria Clemente, who's the representative of the applicant corporation, and she's actually the one who will be running the Burlington facility. And also the wetlands consultant that the Perkins Company have been using for many years, Mary Trudeau, is here in the event there are any questions along those lines that might come up. Just briefly, Madam Chair, as the board, I'm sure, remembers, we were here last meeting, kind of an introduction as to what the proposal was before the board. But just to remind anybody who might be watching, the Perkins Company has operated a standing gravel facility down on Adams Street for over 50 years. Back in 2006, they expanded it to concrete, and at that time, a comprehensive special permit process was held by this board, and a decision, site plan approval, and the special permit was awarded with decision contained many conditions. The Perkins Company has been operating in accordance with those conditions since 2006, with no problems that we've been made aware of. They were a very long-standing, responsible Burlington company. Mr. Perkins is finally retiring, so he's looking to sell his operation. My client, 21st Century Concrete, is one of several family-owned corporations from the Clemente family. They're out of Western Massachusetts and New York State. They have a number of facilities out in that area, and they've worked in an agreement with Mr. Perkins to purchase his facility here in Burlington and his one in Hudson. So by way of background, that's how we're all here. I do just want to point out that Mr. Perkins, as I said, has been doing this for 50 years. The Clemente Company's been in this business for over 100 years. So this is not a fly-by-night operation. They've been doing this for a long time. They know what they're doing. And they do look forward to coming to Burlington and carrying on the tradition that Mr. Perkins has set for all these past 50 years. At the meeting last time, there were a number of abutters from Lexington. The Burlington abutters are all commercial down at in that area, but there are residential abutters from Lexington. And they all spoke, and they raised some concerns and things that I think anybody would have expected if you were in a abutter in an operation like this. A few things were brought up, a few questions were asked, and I was asked to try to get a little information for this board, and I'm just going to run down that very quickly. One of the questions, frankly, was, has the Clemente family organizations ever had any problems running these types of facilities in some of their other communities? And I talked to Maria's father, Carl, who was here last time. his brother Luke, who's also involved. And while none of them could claim that over the course of the 115 years, somebody hasn't complained about something, they can attest that they've never been cited for any type of hazardous violation or any other municipal or state-run environmental agency, anything of those lines. They run a tight ship. They invite anybody to search them on the internet. They've got a good reputation. So to alleviate any concerns that might have been out there about that, it's a solid company. We were asked about status with the Board of Health. I believe the Board of Health issued an official comment, probably since last time. Their official comment was no comment, which I would suggest means that they were satisfied with the conditions that are in place from the 2006 special permit, and they're also satisfied with the way that the business has been run over these many years. I do know that they do annual inspections up there. I did talk briefly with the Board of Health agent, and they sent me over the file, actually, and since 2006, looking at every of their annual inspections, they've never cited the property owner for anything, never found any problems. They've done a good job in complying with the conditions that were put in place in 2006. Status with the Burlington Conservation Commission. About a month ago, Mary Trudeau appeared before the Conservation Commission, and a certificate of compliance was issued for this property dating back to the orders that were put in place when they did the 2006 permitting. John Keeley issued their comment to this board was essentially that they have no problem with the existing special permit. He did suggest perhaps doing something to protect any of the pile of material from eroding into the wetlands. My client suggested they're going to put a row of concrete blocks around the base of all the piles. John thought that was fine. He sent me an email to that effect. He mentioned that at the joint departmental meeting last week. So from all reports, the Burlington Conservation Commission is satisfied with the site and with the conditions. And again, Mary is here if anybody has any specific questions as far as that goes. There were some general comments. Can we make things better? 2006 was 17, 18 years ago. Can we put new orders, conditions in place that are better? I would suggest the operation is the same, the business is the same, the procedures are the same. The applicant is going to step into Perkins' shoes and continue to operate under the conditions, which clearly work, and I would submit if they've worked for this long, they'll continue to work as long as everybody abides by them, which my client will clearly do. So I'm not sure, if the technology had changed, if the way they do business had changed, then, okay, perhaps maybe some of the conditions should change, but I would submit that's not the case. It's the same business, the same procedures, and the conditions have worked well for 17 years, and I would suggest that they should be rolled over into the new special permit. It was mentioned the possibility of perhaps working with the town to grant easements should the town ever want to put sidewalks along Adams Street, and maybe something in conjunction with the bike path. Client's more than happy to do that. The only thing, we just want, when and if that time comes, they'll be happy to sit down and work something out, but without knowing where those paths might go or where the sidewalks might go, it's hard to make any concrete approvals at this stage of the game. But say for the record, and certainly if you want to put language in the decision, that when and if the town wants to expand either the sidewalks and/or a bike path, this applicant will sit down with the staff at the time and work out whatever details. Until the thing is surveyed, we won't know whether those are actually going to encroach onto our property or not. So once you have some of that detail, we can work with you as far as working out the legalities of it. And lastly, there was some discussion about doing some enhancement to the site aesthetically. And I know there was a site walk, I think, Madam Chair, you you attended that. And again, my clients, they intend to immediately put new screening on the fence. It's a chain link fence that goes the extent of the frontage along Adams Street. They're going to put new screening on that. They will agree adjacent to us, to our site, as you go down Adams Street towards Lexington, the Burlington DPW has a site in there where they do whatever they do. And we will agree to put the screening on their gate as well, just to continue that screening for the benefit of people who might be driving by there.
What do you mean, what would the screening be? Because right now, there's the fence with the green,
Yeah, they're going to put a new mesh.
new mesh, like the
I
green
don't know if
mesh.
you have any-
Yeah, something just newer, I guess. We saw it when we walked.
Yeah.
The holes were kind of unsightly, so just a new mesh, and then we'll extend it onto, if they would like to, the DPW's gate, just to kind of keep a uniform look along all of Adams Street.
Thank you.
I know there was talk about perhaps doing some plantings along there as well. Again, they're more than happy to try to spruce things up in any way possible. Their only concern with doing plantings along the street is they'd hate to spend a lot of money on nice new plants, and then next year find out that's where the sidewalk's going, and we have to rip them all out. So my suggestion to that, and we're not expecting a vote tonight, but I just kind of throw this out there. We have no problem with putting some sort of a language in the decision, agreeing that the applicant will work with planning staff and chair, or however you guys want to set it up, to implement enhanced landscaping. But the suggestion from our end would be at least wait till the spring so you can see how some of the foliage that's there comes out. And if there's clearly holes in the existing foliage, we can certainly fill those. But also, to some degree, get more of an idea as to where the town might want to put the sidewalk and/or the bike path, again, just so we're not putting in a whole bunch of things that are going to get torn out 2 years later. So, again, we're willing to do that, willing to have those discussions. These are reasonable people. You guys are reasonable people. They'll work it out. I'm not sure we're in a position right now to say anything specific, because we just don't know enough about where you want them and where the other things are going to happen. Other than that, Madam Chair, that's kind of what's transpired over the last couple of weeks from our end. We're here to answer any questions or address any concerns anybody might have. Our hope is we can kind of hash out any other remaining items, and then maybe aim towards getting a vote next time in, when you guys hopefully will have a full board and we can address some of these issues.
Okay. Thank you, Attorney Murphy. Staff, would you like to add something?
Sure. So yes, Madam Chair, I also attended the site walk with you the other day, and it was interesting to see the whole process. It was very busy because it's warm, but interesting to see the process. Our office did receive a letter from the Town of Lexington's Conservation Commission that I did forward to all of you regarding specific things that kind of just suggestions, things that they saw that they do. A lot of the things are already in our existing special permit condition and the site plan condition that was issued. They said an as-built condition plan, so from what I saw in our as-built plan, what is on the site actually does look exactly like the as-built plan that they submitted back in 2006, which is amazing. Dust, they suggested a dust control condition. Those conditions are already, our dust management plan. We do have conditions for dust management. It hasn't gone as far as a plan. And then they suggested better screening for, vegetated, keeping the wetlands vegetated, so they're not gonna be mowing along the wetlands anymore and the buffer there, so that's gonna all grow naturally. And then there was an existing requirement for an operation and maintenance plan of any stormwater in the detention basin that they have there. And I know from speaking with Eileen Coleman, who's the Assistant Conservation Agent, that she has a working spreadsheet of all the O&M plans from all the years, and she's doing her best to make sure that all of them get a touch, kind of, hey, what's going on? She's also implementing that into our new online permitting system, so everybody who we get an O&M plan from will get a yearly letter through the system saying, hey, what's going on? We need you to submit something. So we will be implementing kind of new processes as well in our online permitting system, and so those are all things that we kind of talked about. I also did, one thing we saw, and Attorney Murphy, we talked about those concrete blocks in the right-of-way. And you noticed those. I went upstairs and I talked to engineer Tom Hayes, and he said that from what he sees, and he's been in the business a long time, he says that they're concrete, they're like leftover concrete that they form into blocks. And so those wouldn't be something that our DPW would have put there necessarily. So, I think
Can they be removed is the question.
I think
because-
that Tom Hayes, I think Tom Hayes has no issue with them being removed. I think this site has been sand, gravel, something forever and always, and I think, they've probably been there for over 50 years. So he said that as far as he's concerned in the right of way, there's no reason why they couldn't be removed.
So the question is, who removes them? Because I think they should be removed. Not only are they unsightly, but they have rusted rebar sticking out of them, which no one really walks there, but if anyone did, it's nothing you would want to touch or fall on. So I do think they should be removed. Is that the responsibility of the town? Is it the responsibility of the property owner? Do we know?
I don't think, we didn't get into that. I think that, if that's, I know that they reclaim concrete 8 weeks a year. That's something they could use
Oh,
in their permit, if that's material that could be reclaimed and used and repurposed. If you could remove them and use that as part of that, they're,
Couldn't really be reused as turning it into an aggregate material because it has rebar in it, the rusted stuff.
got it.
It's possible the Quinns put them there 50 years ago. They're on town property.
I think we'd be open to helping remove them. My only concern, which we could work with the
Yeah.
town or town police, would just because how narrow that road is.
yes.
The process of removal, because they're so close to the road. So that might just be a team effort in the
Yeah.
removal, and then the wires above,
Yeah, we
it
would
would be a
probably,
process that we would be willing to work
I
with you
think,
guys.
yeah, I
thank
think,
you, because we
yeah.
probably need a police detail
Right.
there and all of that,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. All right, let's,
Not
work
during
that
rush
out.
hour, like all
Because-
those details, yeah.
yes. Okay, good. So, did you have any more?
I think that's all,
Okay.
that I have.
Okay, so,
Now.
for the board, as Liz said, she and I both went out for the site walk, and this is gonna sound like a strange thing to say about a gravel pit, but it was remarkably neat and clean, and it appeared to be very well-run. Of course, there was noise, that's the nature of the business, but I was impressed with what I saw. The most unsightly part of this whole project was the concrete blocks and rebar that I was discussing that apparently is on town property. So I'm very pleased that you're willing to work with us to eliminate that. I do, and I'm going to turn it over to the board, I do think we want to talk a little bit more about landscaping, and we'll get to that. But I'd like to give my fellow board members a chance to speak. Who wants to start?
Sure.
Ernie?
I thought maybe it might be of interest to my fellow board members just to, I don't know, were you on the board, Joe, when we approved the concrete plant? Or was that just before you got, that might have been just before you got on, I think, right?
Yeah, I wasn't on this board, I
Okay.
was probably on the Board of Selectmen at the time, yeah.
Because I remember it was something we hadn't done before. I mean, there was only, there was one other concrete plant in Burlington, and that's where
7 Springs.
Seven Springs is now. That was Coastal Concrete a long time ago. That was a much, much bigger operation, though. When they went out, I guess Quinn, when they became Quinn Perkins and sold to Perkins, they must have decided, since there was no real local concrete batch plant around it, they'd put it in. And so they came before us, and it was something, as I said, new to us. We really hadn't dealt with a new concrete plant before. And one of the concerns of the neighbors, and mostly it was the Lexington neighbors, because that's the closest residential area, was the cement dust. Because concrete, as you know, is composed of cement and sand and stone and water and some small quantity of additives, depending what the concrete's going to do. And none of us on the board had that kind of expertise of what was going on with cement. And cement, it's like, I'm sure, if you haven't seen it, if you haven't put in fence posts or whatever, it's like talcum powder. And it actually gets delivered and in trucks that look like oil tankers, and they vacuum it in and vacuum it out. So it gets stored, doesn't really get stored, to best of my knowledge, to the weather. It gets stored in silos or tanks or whatever. But none of us had really had any experience with that, so Perkins offered to host a site visit, and I think we went to Hudson, Mass, maybe? And I know John Keeley was with us, and I remember because he admonished me for, come on, Artie, we didn't even stop for coffee, he said, but that's another thing. And at least a couple of fellow planning board members, Tony Fields, I think, was there. Kristen, maybe, was she around?
I think so,
Yeah,
she remembers.
probably was here. Anyways, so they took us to this, and this was basically the concrete that we were concerned about, the cement that goes into the concrete. And so they took us to their plant that they were running, and I guess they have a series of small plants around. And everything was enclosed, so we were kind of, it assuaged our fears of cement blowing all over the place and that kind of thing. But what I'm trying to say, I guess, is we really got into it thoroughly, as thoroughly as we could. We probably spent 3 or 4 months on it, and we had some subcommittee meetings, we had a site visit. I believe the neighbors banded together and actually brought in somebody who was an expert in cement, if I'm not mistaken. And did we do a peer review? I don't even know. We did a peer review. Okay, we did a peer review on it. So we reviewed their research and made sure that it was okay. But I guess what I'm trying to say is if they're going to do the same thing that they have been doing, back then, we looked into it based on those criteria at that time. And if the criteria basically, to protect the public, basically, is what it is, if that hasn't dramatically changed, I think they're going to keep doing the same thing. And from my own experience in the construction industry, from, I don't know, that high to this high, the Quinn Company, before it was Quinn Perkins, had a very good reputation for running a good operation. And Quinn Perkins, the same. There's Quinn Perkins, and I guess Perkins went around and bought up a lot of the smaller companies like Quinn and added their name to it. So, but they seem to run a good operation.
Thank you, Ernie. Thank you.
I remember that like it was yesterday.
Yeah, it was a while ago, though.
Know when the sidewalks are thinking of going in, because I kind of agree with the applicant as far as
Well,
how many times are they gonna do the landscape, and is it close to doing the sidewalks?
So
It's a dream.
it's, Barbara, it's gonna be a reality.
It's a beautiful dream that we hope becomes a reality.
Oh, okay.
So,
Draw up some fictitious.
so if I may, Madam Chair, so just so the idea, so this is a piece of a larger puzzle, which is why having an easement so that they will allow people to traverse their land. because, you know, there's a desire to get access to the Minuteman Bikeway in Lexington for commuters who come to Burlington and for residents in Burlington who want a way to do some really cool recreation, get on the Minuteman Bike Trail. And there is a spur off of Adams Street in Lexington, so the dream is to kind of build up the different, build up that easements along Adams Street, because it's too narrow to do anything now, but build up those easements so eventually we can have some type of connection there. And so this is kind of my added long-range planning. You know, we should have this piece of the puzzle in our back pocket if we ever, you know, either get the money, get grant funding to really, to look into a mixed-use path. So that's kind of long-range planning.
But from what, correct me if I'm wrong, but when we went out and looked at the site, it appears to me that there is ample space to put some evergreens in front of the fence, close to the fence, and there still would be room between that fence and those trees and the street. It's pretty wide. I think there would be room for both. I don't anticipate that those, if we put evergreen trees in there, that they would need to be removed, because the bike path wouldn't be right up against the fence.
Probably not. There probably have to be, I mean, grading obviously, but I think mixed-use paths are usually about 10 feet. So that would, mixed-use meaning for cyclists and pedestrians.
Right.
And that's the
There will
gold
be some
standard.
grading challenges.
Yep.
But I don't anticipate that being an issue. I don't know how we condition the easement if we don't know, how does that work if we don't know exactly what we're asking for?
I think that we will work that out before we take a vote. Of the
Okay.
board.
All right.
But it's, you know, usually, you know, standard practice for mixed use path is 10 feet.
So, Tony, did you have any other questions?
No, I just felt kind of the same way as the applicant. If they were gonna put the sidewalks, why make the applicant spend money and then the year later we're ripping it out to then put the landscaping back? So that was the only comment that I kind of
Thank you.
think, but you went out and saw where it is. If it's not gonna interfere with that, you know, that's a little different. You know, I mean, you saw.
I don't think it would, and I also don't think that I believe that it will happen. I do not believe it will be happening in the next 2 years, maybe 5 years, if we're lucky.
Barbara, you're breaking my heart.
Sorry. I could be mistaken, but that would be my guess. Did you want to address the
Quick
question?
comment on what you're discussing. It looks like there's ample room, and perhaps there is ample room, but there's other things going on there. We don't know what utilities are underground. You have the telephone poles, you have not only guy wires, but you have guy poles that are taking up a lot of room. And they just don't want to spend a lot of money planting something, and then 2 years, 5 years from now, you say, this is where it's going,
Yeah, I understand.
you know?
I understand. Thank
There
you.
was some type of, if somebody had a vision on paper, this is where it would go. That's a different story,
Yes,
but
I
if
understand.
they plant them next, maybe we'll have to move the fence for some reason, we don't know.
Okay.
Agreed. Right.
Joe?
No, that's gonna be my, I really wish I was able to get down there during the daytime to the meeting, but wasn't able to make it work. But that's my big concern. I'd love to see some
Dress it out.
real substantial screening in there, you know?
Okay.
Some high arborvitae, something that's gonna really screen and go high. And I think that would eliminate a lot of the neighbors' concerns, some of the neighbors' concerns anyway, too. As well as, visually from the roadway and.
Okay. Bill?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, just a couple of comments maybe with regard to the dust management plan. I reviewed the video, and it sounded like the dust management plan that they had was a bit not documented and not necessarily all that tight. So I was wondering if maybe there's a best practice out there somewhere of another town. Lexington might have a dust management plan if they have any concrete facilities in the town, which I doubt. But you've got the big one in Reading on North Street up there, as you head to Route 28, so maybe Reading has something in their back pocket,
What is that?
Yeah,
North
to head
Reading,
into
North
North
Reading.
Reading, it's big over there.
right?
The one that's down in the.
Exactly, yeah. So maybe there's ways we can get like a benchmark on that might have some, other towns might have these dust management plans. Or, they're in the industry, you may have some, with your peers, if you go to conferences, they may have those. And they're likely now, since 2006, most companies probably have them documented. I did go on your website and I checked out where your corporate office and facility is, and it's fairly rural, so you probably don't have the same issues out there on the Connecticut and New York line. On the website, I also noticed that you had a list of services for most of your sites, except for the Hudson one and your private purchasing as well, and then the Burlington one. Is that because all those services that were on the other ones are not going to be done at the Burlington site, or is it just going to be just one service, or?
I'm not sure what the services
It
are.
was a list of,
You're speaking to the website?
yeah,
I'm just behind schedule with the website. Burlington, I haven't put anything because this isn't finalized. Hudson, the same thing that they have been doing, we are continuing today at Hudson site. That's just a matter of me working with our website designer to update
so
it.
are the services will be the same as maybe your headquarters site or other sites, or is it just going to have one service, meaning a certain concrete? What kind of detail are you going to be putting in for Burlington? Maybe you can compare the ones you have existing and say, bring to next meeting, say, these are the ones that are going to be in Burlington.
Every site is different, and a different material gets brought into different sites. I can tell you that what Perkins has been doing is what we will continue to do, so I think they have it listed on their website. I believe it's still in operation.
Okay.
It's the sale of aggregates, like for Hudson, I'll speak to Hudson. It's the sale of aggregates, and it's the production of concrete. Burlington would be the production of concrete and the sale of aggregates as well,
Okay, thank you.
which is what they are doing currently.
Okay. Thank
Some
you,
of the
ma'am.
plants have hot top because they have hot top plants, asphalt, because we don't have that in Berlin, so that wouldn't be on the website.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, so we'll figure out how to do the easement.
Yes.
I agree that it makes sense for us to wait on landscaping until the spring, because there was a lot of what I would describe as brush that we don't know what that will look like in spring when it greens up. It might actually provide some screening, and so I wouldn't want to say, rip all that scrub out when it might actually be of benefit. So I do think it makes sense to wait for that. I would like to try and put something in our decision to the effect of that we want some evergreen plantings approximately every 8 to 10 feet to be worked out in the spring when we meet on site. Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah, that's fine. Just two things. There is, the fence that's there is a 6-foot fence that's screened. The whole operation is like down in a bowl. So, speaking from experience, because I kind of cut through that way quite often, especially in the summertime, the brush, which is, putting a nice spin on it.
I don't know what else to call it.
But I can assure you it's green between May and October, and you can't really see in there at all, not to mention the road's so thin and windy, you're too busy trying to make sure you don't hit somebody. So, between the 6-foot fence, so the sight line and the operation then goes down probably 20 or 30 feet, you really can't see anything driving by there now with the brush that's there and with the fence. We'll certainly enhance the fence and the covering. We'll do what, if we leave that brush there, and you'll see in the spring that it does flower or the leaves come out. So it's effective. Yeah, there you go.
These are images that were,
That's not what it looks like now.
So I pulled these all from Google Street View. So this is when you're driving a car, you see the cars with the cameras on the top, this is what you're pulling from. So I just did a winter photo versus a spring photo in the same spot.
That's the problem.
So just to get the full picture, because obviously in the winter you don't.
Can you go back to winter? There you go, thanks. Just stay there for a second. Yeah.
So
and
in
then-
winter, there
then-
would be benefit to having some evergreens, like further back against the fence because they would not lose their leaves in the wintertime.
But again, and not to beat a dead horse on this one, but
Yes.
if you look from the edge of the paved roadway back to the fence, 10, 12, 14, 15 feet, if the path's got to be 10 feet wide, according to what Liz just said, it doesn't give a lot of wiggle room, and I'm not sure that same distance is maintained the whole way. I think the thing,
It gets narrow.
it gets narrower. So that's just my point, is that, you know, to put a 10-foot paved surface, I would suspect you don't want to put the guys on the bike right next to the street, so you're going to push that in a little bit, and then you go in 10 feet, and there's the fence. So I just, that's why I think we're all reasonable, and they can work something out come the spring once you see things, and they're willing to do it, but they just don't want to be stupid about it.
My
you know?
other point would be if this is the view from the car and you are putting up, or we will put up evergreens, what are we hiding though? Because from here, as we said, the sand pit and the concrete plant, it's kind of in like a lower valley.
Yes.
So from the car view, you're looking across, you're not looking down into it. So as you can see, this is a car view, you're seeing a fence. Beyond it, you're seeing the trees on the other side of the pit.
That is true.
Well, I think if it's a thick enough screening, you know, of arborvitae's that can grow 25 feet tall, and it's thick enough, it'll probably block some of the noise, it would block some of the dust, it would block some of any vision through the wintertime and summertime, you know. I think it would create a much better atmosphere in that area. One of the other things I forgot to mention personally, I want to get a little better understanding about that one time a year grinding that they're doing over there as well. So I don't know if we have something,
So I know that in the 2006 condition, or there's a condition that states that they basically do grinding. They recycle existing materials for 4 weeks, twice a year. So 8 weeks, they bring in a grinder and do that, and that was conditioned as part of the original special permit. I don't know if you want to speak to that.
Actually, yes, please go
I want
ahead.
to go back just
Oh.
a tiny bit to the plantings that you were talking about. In particular, I think Arbor Vitae does a great job as a screening plant, but I don't think that they're appropriate for this location. And part of my reason for thinking this is that if you look at the size of the watershed that would contribute flow to those plants, it's basically from the curb line, the gutter line of the road, and the fence, because it drops off then, that we don't have an irrigation system, there's no way of watering a plant like an Arbor Vitae that needs a considerable amount of water throughout the year. There are evergreens that I think are hardier, more drought resistant, that would be appropriate for this site, but we are limited by the fact that we can't water these materials.
I think we would be very happy to take your recommendations.
Yeah, no, and we have talked a little bit about plants that would work in this area, and I think in the spring, looking at what openings and apertures exist, and we can try and fit some plants in. But it's not a typical landscaped area where you have a naturally contributing watershed that would feed these plants throughout the year.
I understand, thank you.
Getting back to the grinding, they have been doing it since 2006. Matt knows the details on that better than I, but it has been going on for 17, 18 years.
Madam Chair, to the point of grinding, does it put in the 2006 approval about when that grinding occurs? Does it happen on a Saturday, or do they exclude the weekend?
I don't believe we've ever done it on a Saturday or a Sunday. It wasn't specifically excluded.
Well, we can put it in the decision that it's not to be done on weekends.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay.
And just-
Yes.
People call it grinding. When you grind cement, concrete, when you grind concrete or hot dog, you make a lot of dust. It's not grinding, it's crushing with an impact crusher, crushing the materials against each other. And it's not just concrete, it's like if you demo a building and crush the concrete, it's dust. I showed the ladies, the members in the town planner, a sample of what we crush. And it's mostly concrete, bituminous concrete, which is hot top, and stone, sand and gravel. And it comes in, it's separated, we can blend that together to make a uniform product. But what that also does is crushing concrete makes a lot of dust, but when you crush it with the bituminous concrete, there's not as much dust. That's what
Well,
we
I do
found.
think we're going to come up with a dust control plan, and we should probably have that ready for the next meeting when you come, and then if you can, we should probably, what I'd like to see is have that plan in writing to the board, say by the Monday before our meeting, so we have time to review it, and then we should be able to vote on it next time. But I do want to see if there are any people in the audience that would like to speak on this matter. This is a public hearing. Please raise your hand, either in person or virtually, if you would like to speak. I'm not seeing anyone. Do you see anyone virtually?
So we do have, I do see, hold on, I do see somebody. I'm gonna stop sharing so that I can see.
Oh, there we go.
I have, Dr. Mehta and, Samir.
Okay, Dr. Mehta, please go ahead.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Very faintly. We're going to turn up the volume a bit. Just a moment.
I'm sorry about that.
Okay, let's try again.
Okay, can you hear me now? Is it better?
Still faint. Just a moment. We're going to try and get it a little louder.
Okay. Um,
Oh, there we go.
This is
Okay. Now we
perfect.
can
Thank
hear
you.
you. Thank you for your
Thank you
patience.
so much. No, thank you for allowing us to speak. As I explained last time, I'm an abutter, and I've seen the entire story of the Perkins plant. So I think hearing the outline of what you plan to do gives us some reassurance. The dust management is real. I would just invite you, and I can tell you when they're grinding, because if the wind turns the opposite direction, you can see the dust in our area. One thing, and so dust management plan, I think would be extremely helpful. We did attend the Lexington conservation hearing, and one thing that was a revelation to us is that half of Butterfield Ponds is part of Burlington, half is part of Lexington. And that whole area has a lot of ecology, has a lot of wildlife, has a lot of, aquifers. It's sort of a confluence of a lot of interesting natural habitats. But however, Butterfield Pond is a Category 5 water body. And what we have learned is that it basically is designated by the EPA as a polluted water body. And from what we heard the applicant's lawyers say last time, is that since they moved to a ready mix concrete plant, they are not taking or drawing in or drawing out water from this water body, which is reassuring, but that still suggests that it is a contaminated water body because of years of drawing in and drawing out. And I believe they were taking over 210,000 gallons a day and putting back into Winebrook, 204,000 gallons a day. I'm just reading from the EPA assessment that was done in way back. And so my question is there are they going to clean up the water body? Who's going to clean up the water body? Because now that water body actually feeds a lot of aquifers and feeds both Lexington and that whole environment around that. Because I think that would be important to consider.
So I actually can speak a little bit to that. I'm not an ecologist. I don't work for the Conservation Commission. I have talked to Eileen Coleman, our Assistant Conservation Administrator, about this. And the whole Vinebrook watershed is an impaired resource area. So that's a known thing because it's in an urbanized area. We are working on our MS4 permit about outflows in the area along that go into this Vinebrook watershed. That means storm drains, making sure that what's going in them is clean. So from the town's perspective, there hasn't been anything. They've tested the outflows in this area, and she said that there hasn't been anything outrageous, mostly E. coli, but that's because animals live here and that's what happens. But so from the town's perspective, cleaning up the water body, that the town is doing what it can, given the requirements of the Mass DEP. But as far as, Burlington, I don't know if the town is cleaning up the water body so much as working towards eliminating existing pollutants going into it.
Okay. So it's sort of a, all right, I understand.
I don't really, I just have a couple questions. When you say, they say level 5, so do they know who the responsible, because I know you said the E. coli, which is animals, but are there other responsible bodies there?
I can't speak to that.
They don't know where the source of any, there is pollution other than animal dropping.
This would be, we can definitely reach out to conservation about it, and I can talk to Eileen. This is what she told me in passing while I was.
The whole watershed is, because there are a lot of people living in this area, that it is impaired. As far as Butterfield, I don't know what the EPA has designated Butterfield as or where the contaminants come from. I don't have that information.
Usually the property owner has to file some sort of a plan, whether it would, I know we had a contaminated site, and because we weren't going to use it for anything at all, and because of the type of contamination, we were able to file a plan that said that we're just going to leave it in place and make sure it's not disturbed so that it doesn't move off the site. But I think it depends on the level of contamination. But isn't that, doesn't the EPA actually on their site, isn't there
Yeah, I think, and I did speak to Eileen, and impaired water bodies like this one would be, it's not something that the town would undertake. It would be Mass DEP kind of jurisdiction is what she kind of alluded to. The Conservation Commission did just close out an order of conditions, and Mary,
We did, we got a release from our order of conditions, we got what's called a certificate of compliance, which means that everything we said we were going to do, we did. I do have a couple comments on the quality of the water. The Vine Brook is an extensive system of waterways that comes in from Lexington and other towns as well, and I think it takes stormwater runoff from roadways throughout Lexington. It has yard waste, fertilizers, nutrients. We have the E. coli problem from geese, dogs, all kinds of things. I mean, when it hits our property at Middlesex Turnpike, there is a control structure, which then allows water to leave the site and enter Burlington tributaries. The contamination in the pond is less from any one particular site than it is from the entire watershed that discharges to that point in place. I think that since 2006, we have had no interchange with that site, either from surface water or from ground discharges through our former NIPD's permit.
I understand. I don't think anyone's suggesting that the pollution of the pond is your responsibility. But I think it would be a good idea for us to work with or speak to conservation to try and get a little clarity on this, on the condition of the pond and who's responsible for it, just so that we can explain that to abutters in the next meeting.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
We can talk about that, yep.
Thank you, Doctor. Do you have anything else?
No, and thank you for actually hearing us and trying to get this to a better place. It's not that we don't want this. It is there. We are living with it. We just want to make it more contemporary, as I said before. And I understand 2006, they complied. You did a very thoughtful set of stipulations. We are not experts here. Whatever we can do to make it better makes us all better. That's all we are trying to say.
We agree with you. Thank you. I'm not sure, does Mr. Franklin have his hand up? Oh, no, not Mr. Franklin. Sorry. I'm having trouble reading that. Is that
I
Samir?
have Samir with his hand.
Samir, please go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you for hearing me. There were two topics in our last meeting that were discussed. One was the review and trends of the environmental tests that are done around the area. I think it was the streams and lands, and I remember somebody took a note of it that, hey, we're going to review that in the next meeting. If we could talk a little bit about that. I heard that some letter was received from from a department there. Have there been any review of those tests, and what did we find out there? And the second point was, in the last meeting, we spoke about what is the town's long-term vision for this site. As you know, it's a residential neighborhood. You've visited the site. If if you don't hear it, like people who live here, and you haven't, if somebody doesn't tell you, if you see it's just homes and, of course, the big plaza that we have there, it's, nobody will assume that there is a cement manufacturing place here. So one, what are the results of those reviews, the environmental tests that have been done? And second, what is the long-term vision for this site next time? Let's say if this goes through and next time 2040 comes along, what is that vision from the town perspective?
So I could, as far as environmental testing is concerned, conservation, so I'm not a conservation agent. I just want to put that out there. This is from what information I've been receiving from our conservation department. So we and all communities in the state have to adhere to the MS4 permit regarding outflows into the stormwater system and testing those for contaminants. And as far as testing is concerned in this area, the town has tested outfalls there and has not seen any unusual materials or unusual contaminants in that area. As far as specifically testing Butterfield Pond, I don't believe that's part of the MS4 permit, in so much as the town needs to maintain, make sure that any stormwater outfalls aren't adding to pollution there. So
I can try to address the second half of the question. I'm not sure you're going to be satisfied with the answer I'm going to provide you, because I don't have it in detail for you. This business exists there, and they are a legal business, and we cannot and would not do anything to interfere with that or change that. If at some point in the future this business were to go away, certainly there would be interest in different uses for that property. The only thing that the town could do toward that end would be, at some point in the future, could consider different rezoning that would encourage other uses. But that is something that is not currently in the works, although it's something that could be discussed. If it were, it would be discussed at public meetings that everyone would be able to attend and participate in. And I think we could say that if we were to start discussing other uses for this property in the future, we would be happy to reach out to abutters in Lexington so that you're aware and can participate in those conversations.
I'm sure usually when we do, when we have done rezonings in the past, we do send out abutter notifications, and that doesn't just, that also extends to other communities as well.
Online.
So,
Okay.
Just so there's no confusion, even were the town to try to attempt to rezone it at some point, that would not affect
Would have no impact on
Right.
this business.
Yes.
our business.
None at all. Thank you. I see Jim has his hand up. Jim, please go ahead. Am I reading that correctly? It's tiny.
Can you hear me?
yes, we can.
Okay, great. This is Jim Shell, also the Lexington abutter to this site. Thank you for giving me this chance to talk as well as the last time. I hear we talk about the monitoring of the surrounding water, and the actions to protect or reduce the dust pollution, right? It's all good to hear that. My question is there a way, so first of all, for the dust action, I'm waiting to see the final decision, but is there also a regular monitor for the dust pollution from the site? So that's one thing. The other is for the surrounding monitoring and the inspection results, and especially from the overflow water from the site, as well as the surrounding pond and the rivers. Is there a way for citizens to have a regular look through and get to know what the results are? And maybe would that be a website or email or mail communication? Just want to see if there's a way that we can have some visibility into those.
So any, due diligence that the town does on the site, so for a municipality, everything we do here is public. Anybody is free to reach out to the Board of Health to review, just as Attorney Murphy did, all of the hazardous material registration forms and speak to our environmental engineer about her experience with the site. She does go out there annually to review, to make sure that all of the materials that they store are registered on that form are stored correctly. The town, the MS4 permit, that is handled by our conservation department, and they do testing on that, and they are required to report that to the DEP. I would encourage that you reach out to our conservation department because they will provide you with all the information that you could want about that as well. And so those are the two kind of major inspections that that the town does in the area regarding environmental review.
Thank you. So we are not going to be voting on this matter tonight because we don't have a full board. So unless there's someone else who needs to speak, and I don't see any other hands up, I think I am ready for a motion.
Yeah, I'll take a motion that we continue this public hearing to the meeting of March 2nd in 2020.
Those in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you have any questions about next meeting and preparations, you know to reach out to Liz. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right.
Sure, to take items 7 through 710 together for discussion purposes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Items E through K, items E through 1 are all for 5 Burlington Woods LLC, who is the applicant, and the address is 15 Burlington Mall Road, also known as 5 Burlington Woods Drive. Item E is a public hearing, which is an application for approval of a special permit pursuant to Section 4.2.7.4. Laboratories engaged in research, experimental and testing activities, including but not limited to the fields of chemistry, electronics, engineering, geology, non-biologic medicine, and physics of the zoning bylaws. Item F is a public hearing application for approval of a special permit pursuant to 4.2.7.4.1. Life science laboratories engaged in research, prototype manufacture, experimental and testing activities, including but not limited to the fields of pharmaceuticals, biomedical technologies and engineering, life systems technologies, environmental and biomedical devices, biosafety level 4 laboratories as defined by the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention are prohibited in Burlington. Item G is a public hearing application for approval of a special permit pursuant to Section 4.2.7.4.2. Life science laboratories engaged in the manufacture of life science technologies and medicines for commercial production to the market, including but not limited to the fields of pharmaceuticals, biomedical technologies and engineering, life systems technologies, environmental biomedical devices, biosafety level 4 laboratories as defined by the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention are prohibited in Burlington. Item H is a public hearing application for approval of a special permit pursuant to 4.2.7.9, hazardous and toxic materials and chemicals use, storage, transport, disposal, or discharge of the zoning bylaws. Item I is a public hearing application for approval of a special permit pursuant to 4.2.7.12 generation or storage of hazardous waste in excess of the volumes classified as a very small quantity generator of the zoning bylaws. Item J is a public hearing, application for approval of a special permit pursuant to 4.3.2.15, storage and disposal of oils and fuels and petroleum products of the zoning bylaws. Item K is a public hearing, application for approval of a special permit pursuant to 4.4.1.11, discharges from man-made structures into the wetlands of the zoning bylaws. Item L is a public hearing, application for approval of a special permit pursuant to 6.1.2, non-conforming structures and premises of the zoning bylaws. And item M is a public hearing, application for approval of a site plan. Again, all of these items are for 15 Mall Road, AKA Burlington Woods Drive, and the applicant is 5 Burlington Woods LLC. Welcome.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board. Nice to see you all again. For the record, Attorney Mark Vaughn with the law firm of Reamer and Bronstein, representing the petitioner, the new owner of the property at 5 Burlington Woods. We have the same cast of characters here that we had at the last meeting, but introduce Dave Robinson, our civil engineer with Allen & Major, Mike Manship, our architect with Vivo Architecture, and Robin Duragusker, who is a local representative working with the ownership group. And I know we have a couple of folks on remotely as well, if there's a question as it pertains to, I think as I mentioned before, they're on the West Coast, so they're participating remotely from a somewhat warmer climate than ours, although it was a great day today. So we are here for the property at 5 Burlington Woods. I know the last meeting we had an opportunity to discuss with you what the project consists of, which is basically just repurposing the existing building for future lab and life science use. The building is basically staying as is, the building that's there today. There's a loading dock enclosure with some storage space that we're providing for a very modest increase in terms of the building square footage. It goes from 105,000 to 110,000 square feet. But I know we, at the last meeting, walked through the plans and addressed a number of comments that had come up. And I think that a few things that we wanted to just go over with you that were addressed before, but we've been able to refine the plans and show those and what's been submitted. But there was initially, well, let me back up for a second. There's a missing link of sidewalk, as we talked about, which is missing along Burlington Woods Drive heading up towards Burlington Mall Road. So there's sidewalk that exists today along Mall Road, and there's sidewalk on Burlington Woods Drive that is further down from our property. Liz, I don't know if you have any plans you might be able to bring up, but
I mean, so this shows that there's a crosswalk to nowhere.
yeah. So that's the building in the background there, and this is Burlington Woods Drive that was just shown there. But there's a missing section of sidewalk along Burlington Woods Drive that we're proposing to construct within that layout. Initially, we were looking to have that within our property itself, which was going to necessitate taking down some trees on our property. And after discussions with staff and others, it was determined that the better approach would be to put the sidewalk within the layout of the paved portion of Burlington Woods Drive. And that would still allow ample width for Burlington Woods Drive in terms of not restricting vehicular mobility and circulation and whatnot. So that's what that sidewalk plan shows, is that sidewalk being constructed from Mall Road, which is up at the top left, and then coming down along Burlington Woods Drive. And then we are providing a crosswalk that connects to the other side of Burlington Woods Drive, which is where the existing sidewalk is, that then runs along the 4 Burlington Woods property. And then, in addition, it was requested that we provide a pedestrian crosswalk across the mouth of Burlington Woods Drive, which is along Mall Road. I know the police safety officer had pointed out that it's a very awkward situation out there now where the crosswalk kind of empties out into Mall Road at our corner. And the request was to be able to provide a continuous pedestrian crosswalk across there. And we've done that. That necessitates some upgrades, handicap ADA upgrades at either end, but we've been able to accommodate those as part of the design, so.
Is there a better,
We do a Google map of that.
something on there that we can see? Because I can't
Yeah.
really
Can't tell what
distinguish
that
where he's
is.
talking about with this.
Yes.
While we're pulling that up, Mark?
Yep.
For the crosswalk that goes across the mouth of Burlington Woods Drive,
Yep.
was there not an opportunity to create sort of a stopping spot where the island is? I think we had talked about that at the last meeting.
We did look at that, and I know David can speak to that. The determination was that it really wasn't needed, Madam Chair, at that location, based on the width of that area and the fact that it's not, multiple lanes, but I'll let David speak to that. I think the feeling is that the way it's been designed is consistent with what industry standard would be, and, but,
So where would the crosswalk go? If, it would have to go through the island, wouldn't it?
so we're bringing the island back a little bit, but David, why don't you speak to that?
Yep, so the crosswalk is indicated in the plan that was previously shown. Basically what we're gonna do is pull the island back a little bit to facilitate the crosswalk in there. And it's just a better geometry and layout.
If you get up, if you back this off, can you somehow point,
There you go.
Yeah, can you,
okay, is that the
You
crosswalk?
can walk up to.
if you could indicate what you mean, that would be helpful, thank you.
This is, these are the two ramps that go this way.
Right,
And we propose to go across this way. This is the building here, another sidewalk will go down that way.
so you're going to
That's-
pull
And that's
back
Wood- and
the
that's Burlington
island?
Woods.
This is Burlington
That's
Road.
Mall Road, yeah, okay,
this is
and that's,
Burlington.
yep.
Right,
Does that make sense?
So you're gonna pull back the island rather than create a stopping spot in the middle?
that's correct.
Why?
Because if you created a stopping spot, there would only be a very small amount of curb that would be damaged by plows and drivers may not be aware that there's a small piece of curb there. Also, just the geometry, just going from A to B, the desired path is to go from crosswalk to crosswalk rather than, go out of the way and stop in the, at a pedestrian refuge in the middle. Also, there's no regulation for providing a pedestrian refuge. However, there are some situations where it might be recommended. This isn't one of those situations. A situation where it might be recommended is if you had 4 total lanes of traffic going in opposite directions, 4 to 6 lanes, where it's a very wide area with a landscaped island in the middle. The speed limit comes into play, and then the average daily trips also comes into play. Given like the limited number of buildings on Burlington Woods Drive, it's just not necessarily required.
So this help, I mean, maybe wish I had a pointer or something, but,
Hey, Mark, what happened, what was that thing you used to have there?
yeah, I know, right? So this is so
Laser
right
beam.
now, it like empties
My
people
dog
out
has it.
to walk that way. So we're gonna put a handicap ramp here, David, correct?
That's correct, yep.
And it's gonna be a crosswalk coming over here. This is pulled back a little bit, but, I mean, there's still gonna be a spot there if someone did wanna just stop in the middle of walking, that they could just stop, but it's awkward to have to bring that island out here because it's, interfering with, vehicular traffic potentially. And, this is gonna be modified over here, David? so that-
That's correct.
Yeah, so it's gonna be a straight shot right across that would allow people to walk safely.
Yeah, and we're reconstructing those 2 ADA ramps as well. There was, as Mark mentioned, they're not well-designed. They kind of push you into the first lane of traffic at Burlington Mall Road, which was also noted by one of the police officers, by the police department. So we are making a good faith effort to improve pedestrian safety there by bringing those ADA ramps up to compliance, providing the striped formal crosswalk, and we're also going to be putting a light on the corner of our property, fully within our property, to illuminate that area.
Yeah, that was another request that had come up. I guess it's poorly lit in that area right now. So we're going to be providing a new light at our corner. And Liz, you had mentioned that there was a request to try to make that consistent with some of the antique-style lighting that's been used along Mall Road. So we're happy to, get the specs for that and incorporate that into the design. There actually is a light on the other corner, on the 25 Mall Road property, that we noticed doesn't have a bulb that's functioning right now. So we'd be happy to reach out to Piedmont and perhaps, utilize the town's efforts as well, just to let them know that with that light lit up and the one that we're putting in, I think it would be a lot safer for pedestrian travel.
I know that it was originally the suggestion of our staff that we provide the pedestrian island.
I'm
so I
willing
wanna-
to, I think it will be okay.
Okay.
It will be okay. I think it's,
All right. Okay. Go ahead, Bill.
Thank you. I'll start this time. So, at the last meeting, you mentioned that you're gonna be filling in some of the underground parking with, you said, I think you said standard life science. And I think I see some of that here. Is that gonna include kind of the explosive rooms that we've talking about before, that would explode out with hazardous materials? Kind of that type of construction?
In terms of the
The additional, instead, you say you can take out the underground parking and put in
They're gonna-
standard life science, I don't know how you put it, facilities under there. And we've had this before the board where standard life science facilities would be an enclosed room for hazardous material.
Yeah,
Is that
they'd
gonna
be,
part of that?
they'd be control rooms so that everything is controlled and under applicable building code and fire safety requirements, but I think Mike can speak to that.
I think what you're getting at is, it has to be contained inside the building, not outside, right?
right.
We did talk about that at the last meeting.
Yeah, there will be rooms
Okay,
at that
thank you.
level that we're
Yeah,
adding
yeah.
for hazards.
And just, you removed the picture that you had there. I was gonna-
Sorry, Bill.
Yep, that's all right. It's good to see for people that are coming up there. Is there any way to add additional landscaping along Mall Road there? You can see right to the right in front of your building.
Yeah,
Chris, could you pull up the landscape?
yeah.
uh,
We
exhibit that put together,
It's,
please?
actually are, Bill, I don't know if you have this, there's a hard copy of this.
Yeah, we do.
yes.
Yeah, if you, it's kind of a before and after of the existing conditions are the first sheet, and then
Okay.
the second. So you'll see, and I actually did walk the site today, but all those new trees along Mall Road that you see are
Okay.
being put in there. And then we're also adding a fair number of trees within the parking lot as well. There is a few islands in the parking lot that just have mulch, to be honest with you, without any trees. So we're gonna put trees in those islands and also add some new islands closer to the loading dock area as well. So we feel between the different layering, if you would, of trees and vegetation, that there'd be significant improvement in terms of what's out there today.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Do we have, on these, do we have something that tells us what these are? Or?
It's too small.
I was trying to read that, but
Yeah, what type, yeah.
So, yes, there is a planting schedule provided in the full plan set, but it's, it's very detailed, so we didn't provide it in the colorized plan. But the trees are largely, let me pull up, here we go. So there's 17 total trees proposed for the site, both along Mall Road to fill in any areas that are kind of thin, as well as within the property itself. There's some existing, as Mark mentioned, there's some existing landscaped islands out there that are literally just bark mulch. They're begging to be planted, nice trees, nicely irrigated. So we're proposing 7 Armstrong maple trees and 10 Redmond American lindens. Those are both pretty typical shade trees. In addition, there are 16 different areas on site that we're adding more shrubs, perennials and grasses. It's gonna be a significant before and after change with the landscaping. It'll be really nice, and like I said, this site is absolutely begging for some landscaped improvements. So I think if you just slide up to the next slide.
Like those trees, Joe?
I like.
Yeah,
Tony, you have any questions?
No, I think that's a
Yeah, if you could
nice
just maybe pull
difference.
that first
Yeah,
one. So
they have a nice
this is the site, if you went out there today, This is the site now. You can see that in the right-hand side, there, it's just, you know, pavement, it's bare. All of those islands at the end caps of the drive aisles are completely bare. There's a gap along, at the left along Mall Road where there's no trees right in there, exactly. And if you scroll to the next slide down, and then here's our proposed landscaping plan. All those green circles are trees. There's 17 of them. You can see them in the 3 landscaped islands at the north of the property within the parking area. On the left-hand side where that bare area was, we've got 4 new trees proposed. It's gonna be a significant improvement, and there's lots of little islands that are hard to see that are going to be fully planted out.
What are the size of the plantings, the tree's gonna be, the size?
When we first put them
When you
in,
plant them, yeah.
typical is 3 to 3.5 inch caliper.
Okay.
That's typical.
So maybe you could have a conversation with some of the people down in the mall.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
planting trees down there, and we, you know, we didn't have to say anything when you're putting all these trees up, so.
Now they're calling it Burlington Woods, so.
To make it wooded.
There you go.
Quick question.
It was nice.
I'm not sure, but are there any bus shelters in Burlington Woods? Do they need to be upgraded while you're doing everything else?
So yes, there is one on Burlington Mall Road. If you look kind of at the top center, there's a tree right where Liz's cursor just was, right there. There's a shelter there. There's an existing sidewalk along Mall Road, and that ties into part of our connection with the pedestrian improvements that we're proposing to, you know, allow access for pedestrians who are dropped off at that shelter to make a safe connection to these new beautiful labs and offices that are being built on Burlington Woods Drive.
Is this shelter functional?
So,
I-
yeah,
I can't picture it in my head.
I think so. It's just, go ahead, Liz, you can.
So, one thing, so the shelter, does need to be upgraded. I do believe that in our permitting of One Mall Road, that it was addressed in there, but I'm not certain. So I want to double check on that. I'm almost sure it was, but if it's not, is that something that, if it's not, is that something you and your client would be willing to upgrade?
That's a MBTA?
It's not MBTA. I mean, it's a shelter that the MBTA picks up at, but the shelter is not, one that the MBTA put there. I feel like it was probably put there like 20 years ago. Let's drop in. It's not cute.
Out of curiosity, since the landscape architect is here also, it might get into bus shelters. Do they have new and improved bus shelters that are actually heated by solar panels or something so that people can get out of the cold? Does anybody know?
I don't know, but that's a great idea.
I think that the shelters typically have an opening with no door, though, right?
No door.
I mean, if you look at
Yeah,
this one, I'm
yeah,
looking at it right.
You could use an infrared heater, it wouldn't matter whether the door was open or not, but.
Like a heat lamp.
I actually have.
I don't know if there's,
Just
Seen
curious,
those?
okay, I'm not
In
for this
Burlington, Vermont.
particular situation, but since we all happen to be here, and there might be some collective expertise, that's all.
I have actually seen them in Burlington, Vermont. I've never experienced them, but I've driven by and noticed them. But Burlington,
Try them out.
no, I didn't. I was
I
in
have
my
a
car.
connection up there. I'll see what we can do for the next meeting on that.
I'm just, I mean,
I'm
Okay.
curious, seriously, I mean, we've
Yeah,
got
no,
all
I'll
these-
have her
we've
check
got
it
all
out.
these super duper high-tech buildings,
Yep.
and we have these old,
Yeah.
maybe not
No, it's a
old,
great
but
idea. Yeah,
Old style.
I'll have her take a couple pictures.
Right,
where
yes.
technology is.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this matter? Please raise your hand. Okay, I see no one. So, let's see.
Usually,
This is a special permit.
there's a
correct?
special permit and a site plan
And a
involved.
site plan.
would be the
So,
perfect world.
does the applicant want to move forward tonight, given that we have a 5-member board?
I think, you seem like a hospitable bunch. I think so, yeah.
Okay, do any board members have any additional questions before we close the public hearing? No. Okay. Then I am ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing on this matter.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the request of 5 Burlington Woods LLC for a special permit pursuant to the sections 4.2.7.4 Laboratories Engaged in Research, 4.2.7.4.1 Life Science Laboratories Engaged in Research, 4.2.7.4.2 Life Science Laboratories Engaged in the Manufacturing of Life Science Technologies, 4.2.7.9 Hazardous and Toxic Materials Chemical Use, 4.2.7.12 Generation of Storage of Hazardous Waste, 4.3.2.15 Storage and Disposal of Oils and Fuels, Petroleum Products, 4.4.1.11 Discharges from man-made structures into the wetlands, and 6.1.2 non-conforming structures and premises of the Burlington zoning bylaw for the property located at 15 Burlington Mall Road, 5 Burlington Woods Drive, subject to the terms and conditions in Exhibit B amended.
Yes. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0.
Thank you very much. I appreciate all your time.
Site plan, so that was for the special permit for the site plan. May I make a motion, Madam Chair?
Yes, please.
To approve the request for the approval of the site plan application for 5 Burlington Woods LLC, property owner with findings pursuant to Article 6, Section 6.1.2, non-conforming structures and premises of Burlington zoning bylaw for the property located at 15 Burlington Mall Road, to convert the existing office building for life science laboratory, office, and other ancillary life science uses, to enclose a portion of the underbuilding parking resulting in expansion of floor area, the construction of new loading docks and additional site improvements as reflected in the plan entitled Site Redevelopment Plan for Building Addition and Change of Use, 5 Burlington Woods Drive, Burlington, Mass., prepared by Allen and Major Associates, dated December 19, 2022, consisting of 18 pages, subject to the following terms, conditions, as amended. Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Khalil, I don't know if you want to, or Tony, just speak.
I will request unmute. Who else is on there that you need to?
Or Brad, I'm trying to think, yeah.
I
Got
did.
it. All right. Well, we appreciate your time and efforts in that regard, and thank you, Liz, for.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll look
All right.
forward to all the trees. Thank you. Okay, moving on, we have item 7N, a continued public hearing, application for approval of a special permit pursuant to section 4.2.6.2.1 supermarket of the zoning bylaws, 120 Cambridge Street. Foodland Supermarket, Inc. is the applicant. Welcome. Please state your name for the record. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Mohammed Nuruzzaman, and I'm running the business in the Burlington last 12 years. The name is the Foodland Supermarket, which is located is 120 Cambridge Street. And we just recently bought the new building, which on the same compartment, the Metro Care Union. And I'm trying to expand my business to there, and I want to move from my current place to the new
It used to be
places.
the credit union, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I remember you were here before us,
Yeah.
before. Staff, do you have anything you want to bring forward
So,
before we start asking questions?
So, this is a continued public hearing from, I want to say, back in the last meeting of 2022. One concerns, from what I recall, concerns the board had and staff as well regarding, this is a shared parking area, making sure that the easements for parking are all handled and legally taken care of. As well as understanding loading and specifically trash. There were a number of abutters that were concerned about trash and how that would be handled. And so since then, the applicant has provided the board and the staff with an amended and restated declaration of easements with the Condominium Association for Hillside Plaza. And so that with Foodland Supermarket LLC, so that has been provided. That includes, they agreed to share the parking, and driveways, sidewalks, underground facilities. They also agree to share the dumpsters, the existing location of the dumpsters, and there's a shared, a percentage cost that you know,
Yes.
there's
There's a percentage here from them.
there's a percentage for that. So that is all, we have that. And then also, what was the other document? I'm not an attorney, Joe, but I highlighted what I thought would be relevant. And then a shared services agreement from the Board of Managers from Hillside Plaza. And all of these things renew for 1-year periods.
So the parking and the dumpster agreements are for 1 year?
Yes, renewing. One thing that, because, we do have a shared parking agreement, and these declaration of easements and leases are just with Foodland Supermarket LLC. What we do a lot of times with special permits, especially for restaurants, is we give that special permit and we ensure that that special permit is to the specific ownership entity and a person managing that. I would, because of the shared agreements and how it works in there with condo association, I would, and I think I have conditioned it so that if you were to sell your business to somebody else,
Yeah, then
they would have to come back and renew their special permit to make sure that the condo association understands and that everybody is in agreement with that.
So, question,
Yes.
if these agreements have to be renewed every year, how do we condition it as such that if for some reason the agreements were not renewed, that they would have to come back
They
here?
said here like it's gonna be renewed automatically every year until if I sell the business to other people's, then it's gonna be that time there needs to be contact with them to
So
make
it
the new
says it's
agreement.
Automatically
Renew the every year. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. And in there, can we just add a line that if for some reason these agreements were not renewed, that the property owner would have to, the business owner would have to come back before this board to address the parking and dumpster situation? Does that sound reasonable?
Definitely, yes.
Okay, Jody Ann, do you have any questions?
No, you answered them.
Okay.
Saying with adding that
Joe?
language.
And that's, so that agreement that you came up with them, it was actually, it was a cooperation between you and the plaza itself.
Plaza, yeah.
And so they're all on board with this, they've looked at the plan, they're comfortable with the amount of parking, where the dumpster will be, and I know we had some neighbor concerns as well with the dumpster and those things. Has that been addressed with the neighbors?
This just states that they will, that as part of his agreement, that they will share the existing dumpsters, but I would hope that you would speak a little bit more to how often these things were gonna be emptied and what that will entail.
Currently, they are doing the trash 3 times a week, and I think 3 times a week trash and cardboard 4 times a week. So they are doing every other day. So they said if they need the more empty the one, so they will do it later on. So it depends on like how the people say, because there is a new restaurant came in the market, the same plaza. So they are waiting for like how is the trash going to because we don't know yet like how much gonna be trash in the near future. So if they need the more, so they will do it the more, like they will apply the more.
But it's a minimum of 3 times a week?
Now they are doing, currently, they are doing the trash 3 times a week and cardboard 4 times a week.
So there's no dumpster just for the old credit union building?
No.
No.
No, that's the only one dumpster for everyone and one sharing cardboard here.
And the current dumpster is completely enclosed?
I was just going to.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the close with the fence.
Okay.
Close with the fence, yeah.
And is that, how close is that to the closest resident?
It is closed.
There is a fence already. It's far, it's quite far.
So Liz, I know there had been, we don't see any of the neighbors up here tonight, right? So Has there been any communication with them in relation to the most recent changes that have taken place?
So this was a publicly posted meeting. I think, so as we can see here, this is actually an old picture. This is from 2019. I believe that this whole parking lot has been repaved and
Yeah,
restriped.
repave the,
And there are new trash enclosures and restriped.
So the location is the same, but they're enclosed now, correct?
Yes.
yeah,
Is
there
this
is
the
a
back?
fence and closed
Yes.
Is
nicely.
that the back of the credit union building?
This is
this
the
is the
side.
side.
So this is Cambridge Street.
Yeah, that's the back.
Oh, it's the side, the back's the
The-
fence.
Yeah.
Fence is the back.
This is the front, this is the side.
Well, I mean, the back, as far as
Yeah.
the street
Back is
goes,
the- yeah.
from where the street goes, that's the back, right? I
Exactly,
mean,
yeah.
in other words, this is the back right here from where the street is. It's the furthest away from the street,
Yep.
so I'm trying to,
Yes.
yeah,
Yep.
okay. And the dumpster is gonna be in the same location right there? All right. And that is literally a house on the other side of that
I
fence?
think the house on the other side.
House is the other side, yeah, the next
Yeah.
fence. It's quite far, not in the,
Yes.
So there's 120, so it's not, there's a property that is on Cambridge Street.
Is that a home or a business?
I think it's a residential property.
Which I'm trying to get oriented here.
Oh, sorry. So this is Cambridge Street, Joe?
Yeah,
Cambridge Street.
yeah,
Cambridge Street, this is the credit union down at the bottom.
Okay,
This
yeah.
is it looks like 122 Cambridge Street. And so the dumpster location, I think, is over here. This is their backyard.
right.
However, just looking at the site, I don't know where else they could be located, and,
Yeah, but it's not enclosed.
no, it is enclosed.
That's an
It
old
is
photo.
now, this is an old photo.
Yes, yes, this is old, yeah. They've repaved the parking lot here
Right.
and
This is the
restriped it.
old picture, yeah.
And it's enclosed with what?
Yeah, what is the fence?
The fence.
And was it white vinyl? Is it stockade?
No, with the net and other things, were nicely fenced, and but behind there is the white vinyl already. So,
Okay.
So that's why they didn't put in the another vinyl is the side, because the behind one is the vinyl already.
So the fence between the house and the dumpster is vinyl? Is that what I'm saying? And then what is the dumpster actually enclosed with? The same material?
They put in some fences the side, close the gate every times when the people goes to the dump the materials, the trash. They just open the
Yeah.
gate and they trash and they close it.
What is the material of that fence? Is it white
Is the,
vinyl like the other fence?
Not the white vinyl. There's the I think wire like
Is it
Chain link?
chain something. Yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
And is there
Chain net maybe. What it's
chain
called?
link, okay, chain
Net-
link, I think
It's some-
chain link, and then are there slats in the chain link to keep it,
some-
to keep you from having to see the dumpster, right?
Something. I don't know.
The rear fence is white vinyl.
They put it. I'm sorry. It's something is like that. This is the picture. And this is the.
Oh, okay, this is actually helpful. So it's black chain link fence with black
So nobody can
slats in
see.
it.
Nobody can
Oh,
watch.
okay.
Yeah.
So it's black chain link with black, and when you guys take one down, pass it around. That's helpful.
So the neighbors were concerned about the rodents and things of that nature. If they were gonna put some stuff in the dumpster, was that ever addressed about?
They complain only for the summertime is happen because winter time is nothing is there. The summertime they requested if they can do the more more frequently they take the trash. So we spoke with our association already. So they said when the summer comes they will do the more concentrate if anything happens, so they will do the more things. But currently they are doing the trash 3 times, like each other day. The 3 times, actually most of the times is the trash is half content, not the full even.
Okay.
But the cardboard is the full, but the trash is most of the times half.
Well, that would be the thing that's melted, is the
Yeah.
trash. So that's good that they'll increase it in the warmer.
Whose fence is that vinyl fence?
Yes, the white vinyl in the back.
I think, is that the?
Behind is the white vinyl. You can
Is
see
that the
if you go to
association, is that the association's fence, or is that?
Association.
The association
Association,
put
yeah.
it?
Put in that one, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Goes there, the back side.
there, is
You see the white vinyl is there?
Is there a way to
Back.
get was the house?
Yeah, that is kind of weird how it's up high.
Yeah.
I mean, this gap.
There's all white vinyl is there, yeah,
That side
the whole
had
thing.
people's yards and-
There's a big gap in the,
Yeah, it looks like it should be close, should be like a piece of fence down there or something.
Oh, in the back of the credit union?
No, back of the credit we have the, at least 10 feet from behind the backside.
What you're talking about that?
Oh,
Talking about what?
this. It's something to talk about the association with. There's like there's a hole.
Oh, no, because, okay, so there is goes the, because they can put in all the down, because there is something is not the pave over there, so that's why. So you can,
For stormwater?
yeah, stormwater goes there, something like that, So because this is like through a little slab over there.
It's a door for the road.
A little bit slab over there.
I mean, it's something.
Well, I think it.
Because this is the all fence is the closed, the fence in the back side, everything is the closed properly.
The trash is going to be of a different
No, and behind, okay.
position.
Behind, okay.
So if there's an opportunity.
Behind the fence, there is another one. This is the same. This is like a square box. The trash. Then behind that one is the all fence, the white fence.
Okay.
The black one is the like the square. Then behind that boxes, there is the.
I just wish we had it anywhere. So,
I wonder if they can put some white tile.
It is like basically like
Close it
that.
up or something, you know what I mean, like that.
So
Doesn't
this is
seem
the
right.
white fence.
I understand.
Then there is
In the front,
This is the.
the trash enclosure.
Trash, yeah, trash.
But my question is
Yeah.
not that, and I think, and my fellow board members, is what is this gap?
Yeah, that's
This
right.
gap for the is I think it's the stormwater goes there some because
we can
there's
condition
like little bit of slope over there right there.
the,
Okay.
fix the hole.
Can we ask them, yeah.
We can condition that in the, we can, yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Fix the hole and I can definitely condition.
oh, that was smart.
I mean, really, it'll protect that.
I was wondering what he was saying.
And that would be for the association, the whomever,
Right,
a condition.
okay.
I mean, because if he
I'm
wants a
comfortable
special
with that.
permit, he's gonna come in.
Yep.
People say,
Yep, we can do that. We can do that. I will condition that.
Okay, so that gap, we're gonna condition that has to be
Fixed.
That's just okay, no problem. That's fine.
Okay.
We can, if they don't do it, I'll do it myself. No
Yeah,
problem.
that's reasonable.
Yeah, that's the easy things. No problem. I can do it. I'll do it.
Any other board members with comments or questions? Are there any members of the audience that would like to ask a question or make a comment on this matter?
Can I ask you?
Of course you may.
Were you running a grocery store of some sort in the condo? Yes, no, maybe?
The same plaza. I'm running the grocery store in the same plaza.
Yes, he is.
Right.
Yes, he's
And
just
you're
expanding.
gonna keep them both? Is that-
No, I'm leaving. I'm just moving from entire
Okay.
just moving entire food land to the new yeah.
That's one part of the incident. Replacing part of it.
Yep.
Okay.
Do we have a?
But the old one, existing one, maybe because I have the lease, the existing one. So until the lease finish, so I have to keep that one. So when the lease finish, then yeah, we'll go comes the properly.
How long is that?
Maybe 2 years, another 2 years. So that 2 years, maybe I can put the old one as a storage room.
One of the concerns is you will generate too much trash.
No, the old.
Have both places.
No, but the old one actually, when we move to directly here, the new places, the old one, we'll do it like as our full office room. We'll use as office room, not other, or the storage. The back side is storage and office room. That's it. So we are not running any business over there like same grocery store, not running there.
Well, is the landscaping that's in front of this building facing Cambridge Street, whose responsibility is
That's
to
mine.
maintain?
I'm the
Yours.
responsible. Yeah, I'll do it myself. Yeah.
So that has to be maintained, that's part of the.
Yeah,
permit.
that is
Okay.
I'll maintain that one.
So you guys will maintain that and all landscaping? will-
All landscaping, the front and side, my area.
Front and all around your
Back side
building.
is my area. Yeah, everything.
Okay, and is there, the plantings that are there, are they got any, is there any vegetate trees or anything that?
Yeah, there is trees. The side and the front is little trees, so I have to trim. Yeah, I'll hire the landscaping guy. So
So
that's
you'll
good.
have it landscaped regularly and kept up nicely? and-
We just bought it, so
Yeah.
now the winter time, so summertime, yeah, we'll definitely
Yeah,
do
no,
it.
no, yeah, of course.
Because we had concern that they were proposing that the carriages be out front, and that would eliminate the landscaping. But I still have concerns about carriages being left in that parking lot and making its way out to Cambridge Street.
Keeping them
Do you have a
inside.
carriage plan?
You're gonna
The
keep-
carriage, yeah, I was planning to put in the inside, but in the initial beginning, we are not putting any carriage right now.
Okay.
So we are putting some basket like with the wheel system, the nice one, nice basket. And we'll see if it's so busy and we need to that one, then we'll put some carriage, but it's gonna be inside the door next to that. We have a space over there. So that's the near future.
Okay, so the carriages will be stored inside. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have, so in the approval, can we have, right in, the verbiage right in there that they will maintain and keep it, you know?
The landscaping,
yeah,
we do.
landscaping and the upkeep and all that stuff? They're just-
Yes, the landscape, we do, it's a standard condition that landscape will be maintained in a healthy manner in perpetuity.
Okay.
And that's a standard condition we put on everybody's.
Landscape and cleanliness. I think there's just a general concern that, you know, papers are not, you know, things will not, you know, on the property will be kept
Yes.
clean and kept up, and
It's
I'm
clean
just a
and
little
everything.
concerned about that hole in the fence, too. That's, you know.
Although we've got that
We're
condition.
gonna,
in
we're
there.
gonna
So that's
condition
gonna-
that. That's
in
gonna be
there.
a condition of the permit, so we'll make sure that that happens.
Good.
Okay.
And then we have a pretty good grip on the dumpster plan, right?
Right.
And, okay.
Okay, anybody have any other questions?
No.
All right, I am ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, 5-0.
Madam Chair, motion to made to approve the request for Foodland Supermarket, Inc. for approval of a special permit pursuant to Section 4.2.6.2.1 Supermarket of the Burlington zoning bylaws for the property located at 120 Cambridge Street, map 35, parcel 93-1, subject to the terms, conditions contained in Exhibit C amended.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, 5-0.
Thank you.
All
Thank you
right.
so much.
Good luck.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, we do not have any meeting minutes to discuss tonight, but we do have some discussion items. First up, budget.
So Barbara and Brenda and I sat down earlier, was it this week? I can't even remember.
Might have been last week.
Might have been last week. We talked about the budget. I also met with Paul Sagarino and John Denizio, and regarding the budget, it's just standard increases regarding salary. We upped it a little bit, just inflation, but nothing above 3%. It's like 1.4%. And so I do need an official motion, so that.
Right. There was one other item in there for consulting for the MBTA
Yes, we did.
communities. So that's covered.
Yep.
Otherwise, it's just our standard budget. We don't have a very big budget. So I would like a motion to approve the fiscal year '23 planning department budget, please.
So made.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, 5-0. So we're discussing this tonight?
I just want
Okay.
to make everybody aware that it's it's in the works. So we, if you recall, we permitted a mobile substation to add to the 64A site over on Middlesex Turnpike.
That's operating now, right?
I think it's operating there, and there's active stuff going on there, and it's gonna, if it hasn't already been delivered, it's been delivered. But again, it's a mobile transformer, so it's not something that's supposed to be there permanently forever and always. So Eversource has been approaching the town about looking for other sites to put a substation, because, I mean, just the way things are now, everything is getting electrified. And, you know, you've got cars, everybody's AC units, you know, that's the way of the future. And I think they're trying to make sure that the grid around here can handle that. if everybody's getting a Tesla. And so they are looking at a site that is within their existing, their property, that kind of is at the split of two major power lines. And so they are, I'm telling you this now because they're looking to do some major outreach already with the abutters. And so I want you guys to know ahead of time so that people don't call you up and say, oh my goodness, did you not know? So they want to go out and talk to the abutters and make them aware of what they're looking to do. This is a long-term project. This is not something that is going to happen tomorrow. It will eventually come to you guys for a site plan review. The area that under the high tension lines is, it's all RO, so they need to get a special dispensation from the state and the Department of Public Utilities to, for, zoning dispensation. So it's a long-term thing. I've been talking to Paul Sagarino about it. We're talking to Lisa Mead about it, our town council. And so it's just, it's kind of a reality. It's one of those things, we need it. Other towns in the area have multiple substations as well. They have assured me that they really do want to shield it from view as much as possible and do what they can to make sure that it doesn't have, major impacts on.
Are you at liberty to read the location?
I can.
Show us maybe, or?
Perhaps we don't want to discuss it
We don't want
publicly.
We don't want to go. We don't, but
I don't know.
If somebody asks us, we're gonna say we don't know, because we don't know where it is, so.
yeah, and it's it's Eversource. It wasn't a decision of us. It was up to Eversource to determine what location they thought would be the most useful. There were other locations looked at. However, one of the major reasons why this location was picked is because other locations would require major underground
Digging through the streets.
digging through the
basically.
streets and doing
Yeah.
conduit through the streets, which for miles.
Yeah, well, obviously, well, maybe not obviously, but it has to be close to the. as you
Yeah,
say,
it-
they're what we
Yeah,
call
any other
high-tension
site that
lines.
would have been,
Yeah.
that could have worked, would have caught, they would have had to do major work all along Wind Street and like any, it would have been a major disruption for,
But I think it would be nice to have the least disruption for the least amount of people.
and I think
Yeah.
that's what they're
Right.
looking to do.
But some of the things that we're going to
So-
want to do is make sure, it can't be an unsightly thing like what we have
Right.
on Middlesex
Oh,
Turnpike. That it's going to have to be an attractive-looking building. I think we can take some time to look at other towns and what they have and sort of make sure we get the best of the best.
Yeah, just make sure when you
Here?
look at other towns, you're not looking at private electric facilities like Wakefield has.
Oh, no, we can do that. But
What does Horn Pond have?
I don't know.
If you walk around Woburn,
There's plenty
don't
of
they
time
have-
for us to research
Yes.
this.
One
Long
pond,
Pond's got the big.
that's got a big, yeah, that's just a big outdoor
facility,
area.
parking lot.
Yeah.
Industrial
Yeah, yeah,
building, looks
yeah.
like a mill building.
Oh,
So
we-
will it go,
Probably built 100 years ago.
yeah,
I mean, yeah,
I was gonna say, cause that.
So it's sort of a heads up.
Yeah,
There's a
thank you.
lot more work to
No,
be
I
done.
just so that you guys, it's more for you guys to be aware that we want you to be ahead of the game. Just know that
Yeah.
the town is gonna do its due diligence. We have our town council, and Paul Sagarino, we're on top of it.
Right.
And, it's,
If there's any outreach meetings, if you want to tell us about that, we'd
yes.
love to attend
Yeah.
them.
that would
yeah,
be
we'll
good.
let you know. They are looking to do some outreach. I can send them to you. I'll let you guys know at our next meeting, but,
Okay, thank you.
they are looking to, they're gonna go out and knock on doors
Okay.
and they have a really robust outreach plan and outreach team, and they're very eager to get going. So, that's
Yeah.
good.
So maybe we could have them come to a future meeting.
Yeah, I think they'd be open to pretty much anything. They seem very accommodating, and they definitely want to work with the town. So that's something to think about. And then on an even cooler note, I wanted to end this on an up note.
Yes.
We got, so Barbara and I went on a site walk of the Lord and Taylor site.
This was very interesting.
Yeah, And so, we went in the empty building, and
We
it,
entered through where shoes used to be.
Okay.
I know right where it was.
I could visualize
Yeah.
it all. And you're
yeah.
Where the shoe store
No,
is?
they didn't leave us
Where
any
Lord and
shoes.
Taylor, where you'd come in and the shoes would be right there to the left before you went in the mall.
Yeah, and so, they are, the new, well, they're looking to, redevelop it, and we did a site plan for the site, to look to, upgrade the facade, and so let me pull those up.
Right, so we met with them, with their whole team. We went in the building, all 2 floors, and then we went up to the roof as well, which is interesting, because I didn't realize they have some really beautiful roof space, which I think we
Ooh.
should be talking with them about, that they're open to.
So what's looking to go there?
So they are looking to lease it, they're looking to repurpose the site. It's not gonna be retail anymore, but they're looking for tenants. So they're looking to spruce it up. And part of that is a facade.
Yes, I thought they did a really good job with, this is, so if you're standing basically in the district parking lot, looking at the Lord and Taylor building, that's,
Okay.
this is the view.
Nice.
They,
Good trees.
They've
It
got
looks
trees,
pretty.
there's outdoor
That's
seating,
what they show
What
you.
kind of
and
trees
trees
are
on the
those?
corner.
When you get here, they're like, yeah, there's-
windows, right now the building has no windows at all, so it's very dark. It does, it looks good on paper, so that would be the corner,
Canadian
if you're looking at it.
Just us.
Are they the ones, Barbara, that came in and said they wanted?
Oh, it looks pretty.
Office space.
Yes, yes,
What are they
yes.
gonna put?
Yes.
Yes.
So now they're
Oh,
looking
we
for
don't
different
have enough
tenants.
there.
They talked a little bit about possible life science, but we did talk with them that very few life science things would be allowed in this location. But they have expressed interest in perhaps medical office. We encourage them to
Well,
reach
the
out to
reason-
Leahy.
The reason why, so the thing we need to be careful with, and I, we've been doing a great job with all life science, but, the malls and all the restaurants
Oh, of course.
rely heavily on foot traffic.
Yeah.
And the life science has a fraction of the
Yes.
foot traffic that we have. So,
Very true. Right now, there's
But I
nothing
don't
there.
even think that would fit into the mall setup though,
But you have to
really.
understand that there's different options, so I don't know exactly how you define it, but one of the things they're very interested in is medical office. Now, medical office
Sure.
is very different from what most people think of when they think of
The mall.
Yeah.
tech labs, but we talked about this. Leahy Clinic has doctors' offices in satellite locations all over town because they don't have room for them at Leahy Clinic. It would be a wonderful thing if they could use this to consolidate all of those little doctors' offices that are scattered around town in one place. That's one option. They're considering many other things, but we
Well,
did
again, I
make it
think
very clear that life science in this location would be extremely limited.
the problem with that type of use in that location is typically when people go to the doctors, they're going to the doctors and they're just going in and getting out. It's like that is their destination. They want to be out of there. Like, you want to draw some uses down there that are going to bring people down to use the mall, right? I mean, that's, they need to be
Such a
compatible
pretty
uses.
looking building like
It's a
that.
beautiful building, but- No, but in other words, we should suggest that they should be looking at, I don't want to say more restaurants, but things, of that nature that are going to kind of bring people down that, if you're waiting for you walk around the mall and you shop a little bit or whatever it is.
I don't think they're looking at restaurant use. I think they're looking at office or medical office or
And that's, and
low
also,
level.
yep, and that's all well and good as long as it's bringing people down there in their lunch hour, they're gonna use the mall. They're gonna, after work, they're gonna use the mall. They're gonna eat dinner there and they're gonna do things like,
The mall's slowly
What a waste
The
of
law
that
is going to
space.
change too, we don't know how. But the other thing that was very interesting is we walked up to the roof. And from there, you can look across and you can see there's a roof patio on one of the other buildings of the district. It's huge, and they were very open to creating green space up there for their employees or whomever, but also adding things like
Wouldn't that be nice for the
trees, small
public?
scale trees and flowers and putting
Like,
lots of green space up there, which I
would
think
be
would be a wonderful addition.
right?
One of the other things Burlington lacks is outdoor restaurants.
Well, they know, rooftop restaurants.
big
That's right,
time.
that's what I would, that's
But
exactly
you
what I
could
think.
see, well, you've been to Reamer and Bronste's office, you could see all over.
I just don't think office space fits into
They
the
actually, they have, the tavern on the square actually has a rooftop over in Woburn Mall
Woburn,
now.
yeah.
Yeah, there's a
Oh, yeah,
rooftop restaurant
people
over there.
love it.
Another thing that was interesting about this building is, so they have the 2 floors, and then they had, what did they call that thing
The
on the top?
mechanical penthouse.
And the
Yeah,
so
right.
the mechanicals are all inside this brick structure, so it's not nearly as ugly
Right.
as other things. So that's one of the reasons why you could use the roof space, because it doesn't have all those ugly
Does it
mechanicals.
sit on the roof like?
And they're not interested in any retail? No?
A little like a part of the
Structure
building
I
that
just
just
don't
sticks
think an
out.
office
Yeah,
building
and it's
fits
brick.
into them.
Yeah.
It just seems like it's restaurants or stores. People go to the mall
Oh,
for
yeah,
that.
we did,
It's a beautiful
Melissa
building.
Tantopoulos was there, we also talked about cybersecurity and kind of medical device, but again, it's, if you are using any type of materials that could be considered hazardous, you know, isopropyl alcohol, whatever, like, it makes it tough.
Yes, but I don't think, I think it should be something. It's the biggest spot in the mall.
Yes, but I don't
You know
think
what
it's
I'm
as high as
saying? It's-
restaurants.
It's right there, you come in there.
So anyways,
Okay.
just sort of something
Great.
for you guys to just be
Okay.
aware of. They're gonna come before us in March, is that right? No? No, they're not.
No, so this is, so you guys already approved
Yes.
this plan,
Right.
and these are the renderings of what we approved.
Do we
Yeah,
have
we
what
haven't
they
seen-
put
we
in
didn't
there
see
for the
one.
horrible little alley?
It's not,
This is- I
yes,
really like-
Barbara, yes.
CVS there?
I liked that they listened to what we were saying.
Who?
And this group, they listened to what we were saying, the facade is done the way we wanted it done.
Yep.
And they even had a plan for that little alley
So-
that goes into where the old CVS
Yeah,
used
right
to
there.
be.
So this is existing?
That's
Yeah.
existing. Look at that.
Oh,
Nice.
they did it beautiful, but you know what, I feel like this is such, like, the main part of the mall, when you look at the mall. It really should be something that, I don't know, the Burlington Mall, it's just, I'm not sure what, but I'm just saying something, it's the main spot, you drive in, there's one, you know, the old,
I will say, I think it's significantly
It's beautiful.
improved from a visual standpoint, no matter what's
So
in there.
pretty.
The facade that that they are proposing is much better.
Thank you, great.
Yes.
I think it's
All right.
beautiful.
Okay.
So, oh, sorry.
Nope.
No, was that new business or is that?
That was discussion.
Just discussion. So now, if anyone has new business they want to bring up, now would be the time.
I just have one item that I just wanted to bring to attention. I was just reading today, actually, or whatever, yesterday, Tesla is having some sort of an arrangement with the government that they're gonna start opening up a substantial amount of their charging stations to everybody and not just Tesla.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, I thought it was a different connection.
No, they can open them up if they want to.
Really?
And that's what they're gonna start to do. So I'm wondering if we
Great.
can, contact them to see if this Burlington site, because that's a fairly
It's big,
substantial
yeah.
site.
I thought we had that in a condition, that we said that they have to have that.
I will double check, but I can reach out and see if that, that is something that they're proposing to do. I know from, people have told me that the Tesla charging stations that you guys permitted are always in use. They're very popular spot in town, but I can absolutely reach out and double check that condition as well to see, if they're going to. But that's actually really good news, Joe.
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
great. You know?
So we talked about that because it didn't make sense that you have each car having their
Right.
own.
That's right.
So,
Yeah.
open season for
It's like having to go to a particular gas station.
Exactly.
And the other thing is, the more you read about these electric cars, it's actually, it's more, they're more money to gas up, to basically to charge than gassing up would be. So, that would tend to be, it costs more to run them per mile.
So I charge mine at home.
Well, that's what I'm saying, so it costs more money per mile, so if you, more people probably wanting or needing to get them charged up
Yeah.
outside of their home.
Well, they charge up much faster at one of those stations.
Yeah,
Much
yeah.
faster than you do it at home. No, they're not free.
Oh,
So
you gotta
do you
pay
have to rent a charging?
There's
It's
very
cheap,
few,
though.
I think
And
there are
that's why
some.
I'm surprised that you said that it's more expensive
They said it
than
was more
charging it with gas, 'cause
It's more
it's pretty
expensive.
cheap.
Yeah, but, you know, you probably go, you know,
But see,
whatever.
well, the type of car that I have too, though, I'm not charging up a Tesla that's gonna go for 250 miles. So that's, my car is older, so I only go about 35 miles on all electric, and then it
Yes,
switches over to
hybrid.
hybrid.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I charge her up at home every night.
So you have a charging station?
No, it's just a regular plug in my garage.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, if I wanted it to charge faster, I could get.
I thought everybody needed a charging station. I didn't know that.
You
No,
can
no,
have
yeah.
a bigger, I forget, you know, more amps
Yeah,
or whatever
it
it is,
is obviously-
to go faster. But,
Yeah.
you know, I plug Betty in at night, I don't need her
Betty.
till the morning.
Betty's
Oh,
too
Betty.
good.
Motion made to adjourn?
So, one
Oh,
last
sorry.
thing.
I'll second that.
Alex just wanted to make a comment. I don't know if any of you have had a chance to get down to Mom's Organic Market.
Oh, I heard that was great,
It had a
right?
great grand opening. It's
On
over to
Cambridge
the
Street?
left of Panera, in between Panera and the party place. And it had a wonderful grand opening last week. The place was packed.
And it's good.
And it's a nice store, so everybody should, you
Is
know,
it
take a look.
Grocery, eat-in, what?
I call it like a tiny Whole Foods.
Tiny Whole Foods.
Yes. Okay, so now I'm ready for the motion.
Motion to adjourn.
If you could bring back Rose Brothers, we'll be all
A second to adjourn?
set.
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Good night, everyone.